Something will crawl out of it. There's some mammal I know by the smell of its matted fur, some four legs I couldn't get past in a dream. I've waited half a dozen years and only saw a rat crawl into a tree and become a tree. Every grain of skin turns into sand. Mojave tells me every loss that comes back from its fasting comes back as a gift. I had a home and it left and came back as a sky of negative space. I had a hand and it left and came back with 5 scars rhyming stars. My hands cup a spring and 5 stars in the spring, open as desert lilies in spring. The animals crawl out to see them. Only one day of spring, a year of no spring. Spring had a day and it left, and the desert came back to flood every dune with full bloom. The French poet Arthur Rimbaud, one of his 2 books is a book titled Illuminations, and it begins with a poem titled After the Flood. And I wrote something that was in conversation with that poem, and seemed like being in a place where that was once underwater, and a poem that begins with what comes after destruction, when we're thinking about this region changing. Seemed like a worthwhile poem to read at this moment. After the flood. The high water mark hit and held and ebbed and lowered, and the flood then broke. Silence after disaster. Isn't that the way? Isn't there silence that follows? Our statuary bodies anxious? Can I trust, our wreckage on the seafloor asks, can I trust the disaster is ended? Silence between the lap and wash. The stars watched. Those watchers, fathoms beyond a distance we could fathom, spied from their own dark water, and the sun rose. The flood then broke, and the first mountaintops emerged to the waking light, the sharp jabs of light. The first rooftops emerged from the sea-dark shadow, and light brushed dampness from the face, from the first water-logged tongues rolling, the tongues that talked before the flood and went on rolling in habit and current, and light dried them to speak, and fingers of light raked cheeks back to rosy, to blood flowing bright, to the world rising again. Isn't that the way? Disaster always marking time antediluvian from time post-diluvian. Isn't that the way, even when it comes late in life, that disaster unfolds in mythologized time? A disaster beyond words we try to give word to. The story we try to tell. Rabbit, small mouth. Speak your prayer to the newborn world. The world wet and stumbling to stand. The slippery, full world. A rabbit in a full stand where bellflowers tremble. Once a creature climbed out of water onto land. Once a creature climbed a first time onto the land. It grew fur millennia later to withstand the cold world space we now name peace. Thank you.